In this video, we will show the database features regarding DieWalls. So we will start by using our setups that we have. We have some construction methods and materials that are set up for DieWalls so that we can use these standard DieWall setups like a wall depth or cabinet depth for the DieWall and the height for a low wall in this case. If you're fortunate enough to have a PDF that you can generate a DXF from for the floor plan, then you can drop it in the room. In this instance, we're going to go ahead and drop a wall in the room, and then we will get a symbol for the DieWall itself. So we have a practice DieWall here that will just line up with this corner. So this is just a 2D line drawing, and the red lines represent countertops and the blue line represents the DieWall. Alright, so now I'm going to grab a DieWall off my favorites bar and put one there, and this was going to be a 28.5 inch section of wall to make a 30-inch countertop, and this will be a 40.5 inch section of wall to make a 42-inch countertop. So we will have a workstation height top and a transaction height top. So I'm going to go ahead and put another DieWall over here. So this one will be for the high part of the wall. This one will be for the low part of the wall. So I'm going to check Edit Shape, and now I will start drawing the low wall. I will now use the bend tool to bend those two lines to the shape of my wall. And I will use my check command to see that my polyline is closed, and it is. And so I will say yes. Now I will go into the section editor and make all of these faces where I'm going to put panels a face. So that needs to be a face, that needs to be a face, that needs to be a face. This will be an unfinished end, and this will be a finished end. Alright, so now I will come to this front face, and we're just going to have a panel that goes right to the floor on that. And now in this face, we'll have a panel that goes right to the floor on the outside face. I'm going to, because these two outside panels don't meet at the corner, I'm going to create a little overlap so that they will. So on that one, I'm going to overlap on the right 5/8 of an inch. And on this one, I'm going to overlap on the left 5/8 of an inch. Well, we have a pretty good overlap, at least for our visual aid. Now we'll work on the inside panels because we need some removable panels in there. So in here, we're going to split this horizontally first into 3 sections. This is typically done, and while I'm talking, I'm going to convert all these into panels before I size them, because it does matter. So typically the reason you have 3 sections is you have a top section that most people put at about 2 inches so that you can run an aluminum angle to support the top without it interfering with the removable panel. And at the base, you usually make it 5 inches tall so that you can use a 4-inch rubber base along the bottom here without it interfering with the removable panel. Now here in the corners you usually want to have a fixed panel and a fixed panel, and depending on the width here you might want to break this up into two smaller panels. In this case we'll just break it up into two panels anyway. So I'm just going to make first we're going to have a 3-inch on the left, a 3-inch on the right, and then two removable panels. And we won't need to worry about a bracket in here at this point. So we will divide this up into 4 openings. And now we will turn them all into panels. Now I'm going to make the width of one 3 inches. This is again typically done in case you want to put a countertop bracket for support. And we will equalize the width on that one and the width on that one. So now if we look at this in 3D, you can see that we've got panels, panels, and two removable panels. So fixed, 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 removable, removable. We're not going to worry about a bracket, so we didn't put a 3-inch panel in between these two. If this was a larger span and this needed a bracket, then we would have put a 3-inch panel in the middle here that would be fixed to support the countertop bracket. Now we're going to do this wall over here. So again, horizontally into 3 opens. Then we're going to make all 3 panels. Then we're going to make the top one 2 inches and then lock it. We're going to make the bottom one 5 inches and then lock it. And then we're going to look at the width of this. 33 inches probably is fine for only needing the fixed panel on the end, the fixed panel in the corner, and one panel in between. So let's divide this into 3. And again, we'll turn them all into panels first. Width 3 inches and lock. Width 2 inches and lock. Alright. Now I'm using a transparent material here so that it's a little easier for you to see the interior of the cabinet and to see what I will be doing with the cabinet there. Alright, we're going to turn that into an unfinished end because it seems to be protruding outside of the cabinet line. So there we go. Alright, so now to place our studs inside this cabinet, we're going to use the double partition feature so that we can have a stud on each side of the removable panel. So I will go to the section editor. I can now see where all my reveals are in Cabinetvision, and I can click off of the cabinet, click one vertical reveal, and then click it here. Now I can change it to a double, and now I can click off the cabinet, go to vertical, click on the reveal, change it to a double. Click off the cabinet, make it a double. Now if we look at it in 3D, you can see there's the 2 partitions at that reveal, 2 partitions at this reveal, 2 partitions at this reveal. So now we'll do this inside section here. So over here, we have our reveal and our reveal. Make it a double. Make it a double. And there's our 2 reveals there. This might be wide enough where we want to go ahead and put one more in the middle. So let's go ahead and place a vertical. Alright. Now, if for some reason you decided you wanted to move these, you can just take it and slide it. If you want to make these equal spaces on either side, you can do that. If you want to make this a certain width, you can just type it in and it'll do that. So you have a lot of options as to how to place your panels, your partitions. All right, so now we don't have any wire chase holes yet, and we could go ahead and put those in now. So let's just decide that we want maybe, say, let's do 2 holes. Now we have a chase in the top and the bottom. Now that you have your holes in here, you can change the diameter of your holes. Independently of each other. And you can change where that hole is located. That will change them all. Let's see. So now let's go ahead and do our next wall. So we're going to go edit shape. We're going to select everything and delete. Now we're going to grab our chain line tool. And we're going to snug this wall right up next to that one. We're going to check. Everything is good. I'm going to save the shape. Now, before we start editing sides, we're going to go ahead and change the height on this to 40.5. Because this is our higher wall. So now we'll double click on this, and by default there was already some sectioning done in the library, so we'll just go ahead and delete all of these cabinet sections so that we can just have that. Alright, so this is a face, that's a face, that's a face, that's a face. This is an unfinished end, and that is an unfinished end. Alright, just like the other one, our outside panel is going to just be a panel that goes to the floor, vertical grained. Here I have 60 inches, so I might want to split that. So I've got 2 equal width panels. Here I've got 74 inches, so I'm definitely going to have to split that, and we'll do an equal width and equal width. Now we have a corner here that's going to need one of these to overlap. So this one here, I will just go ahead and scooch it to the right 1.25 inches so that we will have a good joint here in the corner. If you needed this to be a miter and you were laying these panels out for cutting on the CNC, you could go ahead and just overlap this one on the left 1.25 as well, and now you would have it overlapped. And if I was really being sneaky, I'd go 1.245 so that it won't show up when I show this in a 3D rendering that I've overlapped those ends. Alright, now we'll come to the insides. So again, 3 horizontally first. We're going to make them all panels first. We're going to make one 2 inches tall, lock. Make one 5 inches tall, lock. Now we will take and divide this up. So we're going to need a 3 inch and a 3 inch, and at least one more 3 inch in the middle although it won't be needed for countertop brackets because this is just going to be a small transaction top that's above it. So we could put a center fixed panel in if we want, or we could put just two panels next to each other like we did on the other side. So I think that's what we'll do for right now. We'll just go ahead and make 4 panels. And we'll make these panels, 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 panels. 3 fixed, 3 fixed, equalize width, equalize width. Now we can see that there's a seam on the outside right here. So if we wanted to, we could go ahead and line our seams up so that we can use the same partition. So what we can do is just go into the, let's do that from the plan view, and we'll use our measure tool and measure from the edge of that to the edge of this one, and vertically we have 3 inches. So instead of having these be equal, now I'm going to do +3, and I'm going to lock it. Let's see, what do I have to do? Yep, so let's just go ahead and lock that so it won't accidentally get moved. Now they're uneven on the inside, but usually on the inside is where you can make things a little uneven. Alright, so now we have these panels, or let's see, did we put the panel in the front yet? Nope, we don't have it on there. So let's go ahead and now put the panels on that face. And again, 3 horizontal. Panels, 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 2, lock, 5, lock. This panel's 57 inches, so we'll do the same as we did on the other one, make it into 4, and we'll do a 3-inch on the left, lock, whoops. I'll make it a panel first, and now you're going to see why you need to change that to 4. And let's actually, this is a similar situation, so we can drag that. Alright, so now there we go. I clicked too fast. Alright, now we're ready to start putting some partitions in. So we'll go from the inside here. Go into the section view, we can see our reveals, and click off the cabinet, vertical split, double, click off the cabinet, vertical split, double, and we're going to go ahead and do this till we get all of them filled up. We have a 33-inch space. So I'm going to use this function to center. So here I'm clicking on the opening, then hitting the vertical split command. That way it will center the 2 panels respectively between the other ones. 27 inches, we probably need one. 20 inches, debatable, might as well put one in there. Alright, so now we know on the other wall that we used 2 holes, and the default height on those holes was what we used. So now we could go ahead and use the same 2 holes in this one, and you can see they all line up, and the holes in this end are going to line up with the holes in this cabinet. You can see that the heights are the same on those. So if we wanted another series of openings here, I have it set up for 2 holes and 2 square routes as the maximum number of openings. So we could take this unit here and add a set of openings up at the top. So instead of 2 holes, let's do 2 holes and 1 route. Now the 1 route's at the bottom, but let's just change that route height. So the wire route distance from bottom, let's change that to, say, 35 inches, so it'll be above the other counter. Oh, sorry, I did that wrong. I thought it was the wire route distance. Oh, that's a little line over at the bottom, so let's try that. There we go. So now you can see that there's a wire chase opening here up at the top. Alright, so now we have our 2 walls in. So now let's go ahead and put some countertops in. So we're going to go to the countertop view, go to tops, make sure we're clicked on the correct side of the wall so that we're not on the other side. And I'm going to do a new top rather than auto building and make the top the same way that I edited the shape. So I'm going to click on these and make it a profile edge. Oops, let's bend these first. We're going to keep the back one straight. And let's make this a profile edge. Profile edge is an edge that has a profile on it, rather than being a flat or finished edge or unfinished edge. So if you had like radius corners or something like that, or a bullnose, that would be considered a profile edge. If you just had a Formica edge going on here, that would be considered a finished edge rather than a profile edge. So now that it's all green, that means it's all profile on all sides. Now hit return and go yes. Now the default height in this room for the countertop was based on the height I set for base cabinets in the room, which was 28.5. So this countertop is automatically going to be at the right height for the low wall where we have it there. This one we will put on and then have to raise. So now we're going to go back to our top command and make sure we're clicked on the right side of the wall, and then we will hit a new top. Again, we're following the red line for tops. We're going to overlap that wall a little, and now we're going to go to select, and maybe we want a little radius on these corners, so we could hit the fillet command, maybe make a say a 1-inch radius here and here, and maybe even here. And now we'll go to our select tool and we'll pick a profile edge. And that edge will be an unfinished edge because it goes to the wall, so that is yellow. this will save our shape. Now we'll go into properties and we will raise this up to 40.5. And now we have our top for that wall. Alright, so I had this set for transparent so that you could see how the walls went together. So now we're going to go ahead and show this in 3D with some rendering. So I'm going to go to the cabinets, the doors, and we're going to change the material from a transparent material to a grain material. Now they're not see-through anymore, and we can go ahead and assign some textures. So let's put some textures on the countertops, and let's put some, let's say maple vertical grain, and now let's do a quick render. So now you can see that you have a pretty nice looking little reception desk. And of course, in Cabinetvision, all these parts are ready to machine, so you don't have to worry about laying these out again in AutoCAD or somewhere else to try and make those plates. So, okay, so one more feature which we didn't go over on this one right now. I'll put it here on back wall so we can show you that feature. So some companies use about 1.25 inches of material past the plates. So what I've seen a lot, and why these by default are called out at 1.25 inches, is because usually they'll have 2 layers of 3/8 or a single layer of 3/4 that wraps around the shape, and then they'll have a layer of 1/2 inch, which is their cleating stock that they use on the surface to anchor the exterior panel with. And so that's why these are 1.25 inches. So I have my plate at 3.5, then I have 1/2 inch for my cleats, and then 3/4 for my finished skin. Then again 1/2 inch and 3/4. So that gives me 2.5 plus my 3.5. So we end up with a 6-inch wall overall. Now some people prefer to notch their studs for the cleaning material. So if you prefer to do that, then you can cleat one or both edges using these commands. So we will just, and you can adjust the distance to the floor, and you can adjust the width of the quantity and the width and the thickness of your cleats. So you can see how if you do 3 cleats by default, the notches are set up to work with the where a standard panel width would be on one side or the other. And so on side B, we'll do 3 as well. And now you have your spots for your cleats, if that's the way you prefer to build your cabinets. So, and typically if I'm going to do a toe kick, like for example on the outside here, if they wanted to see a toe kick, the way that I would achieve that would be to take and split this front panel in half horizontally. I'll make this bottom one a panel, top one a panel still, and the bottom one I'm now going to make 4 inches tall for my toe kick height, and I'm going to lock it. And this panel we already have the hang on a second. There it is. So this panel was 1.25 inches. So what I'll do with this one down here is make it a shallower panel. So I'll just double click it. I'll put change on here so that I can pick, instead of the 1.25 inches, maybe I want to go with the 3/4 inch thick grain material. Alright, and then I could go into render mode there, and now I have my little toe kick. So that is the last little feature of that. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask.